welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. This is a show where we are talking about all things Hallmark, and we are talking about the latest movie that has just aired this last weekend, Love for Real, and we're really excited to talk about it, and very excited to have Haley Strong back with us. Thank you so much, Haley, for coming on the podcast.
What a thrill it is for me to always come on here. I don't know how they keep doing it. They keep making these movies that are like tangentially related to my interests.
Yes. And we will keep it. I mean, we've got a lot of candy cane movies coming up, so we plan on having you on quite frequently.
I'll be available. I cannot wait. You know, and it's funny because what was the movie called?
Ivy and Mistletoe.
Ivy and Mistletoe. So that's the last movie we watched. And I think I convinced myself that was good for some reason. And then watching this one, where I can suspend my disbelief enough to be like, okay, I understand what this movie is being and trying to be. And I was like, damn, this is so much better than the last one we watched. I think in the last one, I said that Cody Calafiore was like the most talented actor in there by a mile. He is bad compared to everyone here, and I don't think that anyone's obviously winning an Emmy for a Golden Globe or anything for these.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, I have to say, I think that Ivy and Mistletoe is probably the worst movie I've ever reviewed on this channel. It's up there.
Oh God, no!
But it was one of my favorites. I loved that episode. I thought it was really funny, and it's really good. So put a link down if you missed it. If you missed that episode, you should definitely give it a listen.
Yeah, give the podcast a listen. Do not watch the movie because, I truly had convinced myself by the end because I had invested whatever the runtime was, like an hour and a half, into that movie that I was like, this has to have been reasonable, fine. I don't have great taste to begin with, so it's this must be okay. But I was watching this and I was like, this one is so much better.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think it was
good.
That fantastic, but it was significantly better.
Oh, good. That's good. I agree. This was way better than I expected it to be. But maybe we should just before, since some people might not have heard those episodes, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you do in your podcast.
Sure. My name is Haley Strong. I podcast over on Rob Has a Podcast, the reality TV Habits Network. I podcast about The Bachelor most regularly. I also podcast about Top Chef, and I get thrown in along the line other places. But The Bachelor is definitely my bread and butter, and so this is the second Bachelor type movie we've talked about, and I really love that first one. I don't remember what it was called, but there was a lot of star power in it.
I Want to Marry Ryan Bakes.
Yes, that was listen, great movie. I would watch that again. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you. When you originally sent me this movie, I had convinced myself that it was a Survivor-based movie because we both watched Survivor too.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, we're completing the trifecta. We've talked about The Bachelor, we've talked about Big Brother. Let's talk about Survivor. And then I was shocked to be like, oh, this is very Bachelor heavy, which was great. I had a great time watching it. It felt it felt in line with what's going on with me right now, which is talking endlessly about The Bachelorette. But I don't watch a lot of movies, and that's partially because I'm one of those people, I can sit and watch the same show for 4 hours, and that's no problem. But to have a 2-hour movie, I'm like, when is this thing over? I actually felt like this movie was too short at an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, but sometimes you do have that problem with Hallmark movies, is they have to fit it into the 9-act structure with the commercials, and there's just sometimes when you want a little bit more from your characters and your other things going on. But I was a little nervous about this one. If you listen to our preview that we did, because Hallmark has had a very bad track record with their Bachelor reality TV type of movies that they've done. They've done about 4 or 5 of them, and they've all been really bad. And I mean Mistletoe bad, but they've been pretty bad. And so I was skeptical, nervous about this one, but it completely charmed me. I really enjoyed it, and so we're going to dive into that. But first, I wanted to ask you about, since you cover Top Chef, and I was curious what your thoughts were about this last season, because I was frankly kind of underwhelmed. And I know they had like all kinds of restrictions with COVID and everything, but I don't know, just the food for some reason didn't look all that good to me most of the time. They had just the challenges. Maybe it's just my own thing, but
No,
I
well,
thought that
because Tom said that he was like, the food was good this season. Don't get me wrong, but nobody was like reinventing the wheel or anything.
Yeah, like, and of course, I feel like the person I think is the best never wins ever. But I thought
who did you want to win?
I thought Shota was way better than anybody else.
I thought so too. I really enjoyed Shota. I will say I did really enjoy this season for the cast. I think the casting was fantastic this season. I loved being able to rely on the character stories. Mm-hmm. And every week I was like disappointed who was going home. But yeah, I don't think you're alone in thinking like the food that was a little underwhelming. And I think that's why Shota was so exciting, because he was doing stuff that we really haven't seen much of on Top Chef. And I hope that changes. Like, I hope that, you know, whatever they're doing for the casting, I hope they keep that up, because I feel like we got some really fun and exciting people this season.
Yeah, it was a good group. But I think maybe it was just the challenges. And I will not thrilling me that much.
I did find some of the challenges a little lackluster. But did you enjoy having like the all-star judging panel?
See, that was the other problem, because I was constantly kind of wishing that they were cooking instead of
okay, yeah, that's fair. Like it's like you were too excited they were there.
Yeah, and they, especially because the last season was an all-star season.
Yeah,
and so they were, and it was so good, and I'm a poor Brian Voltaggio. I feel so bad for him. He never wins.
No, always the bridesmaid.
Yeah, but his food always looks so good. I would love to go to his. His restaurant is in the town where I grew up, in Frederick, Maryland.
Oh, really?
But yeah, I grew up in that area in Middletown, Maryland, and so next time I go back, my parents don't live there anymore, so I don't go. I haven't been for a long time, but yeah, I think it actually did hurt the contestants, because you were constantly having like, oh, is it as good as these all-stars? But I tell you one thing, they need to lay off with Richard Blaze. Do you agree? He is so annoying.
I do. I like have a crush on him, but I'm also like, get off my screen. Yeah.
He's definitely the worst.
But it's funny because like my husband loves Richard Blaze. I think it's just that like white guy hair with like a flip thing that is just, I don't know.
He's such a poser.
Like, I could have used somebody else come in halfway through instead of having Richard there the entire time.
Right, exactly. Anyway, let us know your thoughts in the comment section if you watched Top Chef, what you thought of it this last season. We always try to throw in a little bit of our reality TV talk going on.
It's impossible not to, especially when we're going to talk about a movie that is so reality TV focused.
And is there a new season of The Bachelorette coming soon, or where's that at now?
It's currently airing. We're coming up on the finale. Then there's going to be a Bachelor in Paradise season, and then we almost immediately go into another Bachelorette season.
That's right. And David Spade hosted this season, correct?
Okay, David Spade and like a bunch of other people are hosting Bachelor in Paradise. So Caitlin and Tayshia hosted this season of Bachelorette. So I think they're going to great, actually. I really enjoyed them because they like have actually been through the experience. It feels much more like natural and friendly and not as like rigid, and we're trying to stick to a formula. I mean, The Bachelor is so formulaic. It is nice to just kind of have it feels fresher.
Yeah, I probably would be good to switch it up a little bit. Plus, you get the female perspective. Yeah, female hosts.
Exactly. Like I'm very much enjoying having them along for the ride.
Cool. We'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies Podcast.
By becoming a patron, you get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And, most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Well, yes, this movie, Love for Real, and we are grateful to Hallmark Channel for giving us a screener, so that, because Haley's in Canada, and that was very nice of them, so thank you very much for helping us. Yes. And the summary is Haley and her best friend Brie go
Not me.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yes, you're happily married. Haley and her best friend Brie go on a reality dating show to publicize her fashion line, but nothing goes as planned when love, friendship, and careers are on the line. And so, overall, you already mentioned that you did enjoy it somewhat, but overall, how did you feel about the film?
I thought some of it was a little heavy-handed and producers manipulate everything. I thought it was just like a scooch heavy-handed in that. I thought that Haley and Brie, I did like them together, but their chemistry did feel a little off. I felt like Brie was a little too cold, and in some of the scenes, especially early on. I thought that it was a little, the writing when it came to I know exactly what happens on The Bachelor. It was a little kind of okay.
You mean Haley? Because she was the one that was kind of cold and sarcastic.
No, I thought Brie was colder than Haley. At least I felt like Haley's I don't know, her that was the point of her character. Where I feel like we didn't, or at least I didn't realize until much later in the movie that Brie was, her job in the movie is a risk analyst. So I felt like as soon as I found that out, her character made more sense about studying the data and knowing what's coming next. And I felt like if we got that earlier in the movie, that would have made more sense to me. But I did love the chemistry between Brie and Marco. I thought Corbin Bleu was by far the best part of this movie. He was fantastic.
Yeah, I was really pleased with all of the casting for the most part. This is the first time that we've seen Tiana Tully in a Hallmark movie, and I thought she was so sweet and delightful. That's why I was surprised to hear you say that she came off of cold to you, because she was so bubbly and so cute, and I thought she's a great fit for Hallmark.
When she was, I think she's a great fit. I felt like when she was with Marco, I really enjoyed her. I just felt like when she was going through the casting, she's like, I just want to be the Bachelorette. That didn't fit with me, I guess. I don't know, it felt a little weird. She's just everyone knows that this, and it's okay, I knew that these conversations were obviously going to come back to bite her in the end.
Yeah.
But when she was with Marco, I loved her. I thought she was fantastic. I loved their chemistry together. I absolutely believed it. I didn't as much believe Haley and Luke's chemistry. I felt like that's totally where they're going to lead us, and I didn't necessarily until Brie and Marco met, I didn't expect them to end up together.
Yeah, I think they did a pretty good job of building the tension and not making it too obvious. I mean, it's still going to be predictable. It's a romantic comedy. But I liked the fact that the movie was really based on the friendship of these two women, because you don't see that in that many rom-coms. Usually they're either at war with each other or there's the sassy best friend. But these were on more of an equal playing field than that, as far as the characters in the movie.
I totally agree. I love that they both got a happy ending here.
Yeah, it wasn't say Meg Ryan and Rosie O'Donnell in Sleepless in Seattle, where one is so obviously the supporting sassy friend and one is the lead character. This is they were much more of a dual leads kind of a thing, and I liked that. I mean, anytime you can kind of bring friendship into the story, I think a little bit more, I think it just makes it better. And then you had this two romances, and I agree. I think Corbin Bleu did a great job. I think they already are using him one other time, if I'm not mistaken, but in a Christmas movie. But I think that he's a good fit for Hallmark. And I have to say, Scott Michael Foster was way better in this movie than his first movie for Hallmark.
What was he in before?
It was called Love and Key, I think is what it was called, or The Key of Love. The Key of Love. Anyway, with Laura Osnes, and that one just wasn't my favorite. And he just had way more chemistry and just was more charming in this one, I thought, than in the previous one that he'd done. And most of this casting was new to Hallmark, so it's kind of fun getting some new, fresh blood into these movies, people you haven't seen. Like, I love our old standbys, but it's also nice to have some new people as well.
I think Corbin Bleu should become like the next Lacey Chabert and like make this his bread and butter.
Yeah,
because he was fantastic. I loved him, and I'm not even like one of those people who is like deeply obsessed with High School Musical. Like I watched it for the cultural relevance, but I was never like, woo, everything High School Musical. But I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was so good. I believed everything. He was by far and away the best person in that movie. Yeah. I also really loved Karen Melina White as Marie. Yeah. I thought she was fantastic. I thought Camille Kostek as the host too was pretty good. That character was unexpected to me, honestly. Like I kind of liked where they went with that.
Well, I also like the fact that Haley, played by Chloe, that Haley had like a little bit of an edge to her that you typically don't see in these movies, that I thought was refreshing. And just something, I don't know, she was just a little bit more sarcastic, and so that was fun. But it starts out with the previous season, I guess, the current
season. Yeah, I was like really surprised that's the direction they went with, but I mean, have at her.
Yes, and so Candace leaves, the contestant named Candace, she leaves Marco. She's not over her ex. Evidently, this is supposed to have all been in the first episode of the show. And first thing I wanted to ask, what do you think of the name, Heart Choices? Yay or nay?
That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. They had a name right there. They called Marco the King of Hearts. But, they didn't call the show King of Hearts. Like, that's a much better name.
I agree. I feel like Heart Choices sounds like an operating show or something. Like a medical show.
It's the worst thing I've ever heard. Like, that totally suspended my disbelief in the movie. I was like, come on, that's never happening. Or King of Hearts was a great title for that.
Yes, I agree. And we're also supposed to... I don't feel like Corbin Bleu looks like a ex-football player.
No, he doesn't. I think we could have gone with something else.
Soccer. I think soccer would have been more believable or something like that. He's just kind of small to be a football player.
Yeah.
But
unless he's like a kicker. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I guess. So Brie has this fantasy bracket for Heart Choices. She has the whole poster board up with all of the couples and everything like that. And we're supposed to believe that they must have a very small cast because they only lose one person, and they're able to mid-season add 2 new people.
This was hard for me to wrap my little brain around. It was definitely weird, and I didn't like their setup of like how they were doing the eliminating. Like, I felt like they were all standing too close, or maybe that's just because I've been living in a pandemic for 18 months now, where like everyone's just standing too close.
Well, and also I was a little bit confused because they say, oh, well, we film them a week ahead is the idea, but then like they would also say that, oh, we filmed a whole bunch. So I'm like, what is the schedule of the show?
Yeah, and like, why are they what's the airing schedule? Like, are they doing it live? Or are they not? Hallmark movies seem really into like the idea of reality TV happening as they film it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which is just very much not how
and
it goes
if they
usually.
were doing it while filming live, then you would have all kinds of sound equipment, lighting, that kind of stuff. You know, unless it's some kind of undercover camera thing going on.
I also feel like they wouldn't bring two people in who have been watching the show. Like, I feel like that, where, like, Vanessa's like, oh, do people like me? And whoever's like, you are making an impact. Like, they just wouldn't have that person there telling them what's been happening on the outside.
So there's a couple things that they have about the show when she's first watching it, and I'm curious if this is accurate. So they say that the villains are always pointing at
I don't know about that.
And also that they have non-existent jobs. That one of them is listed as a underwater enthusiast.
That I'll give them. Like, we've had like a chicken enthusiast, a dog enthusiast. We've had a jumbotron operator. Like, we've had some like nonsensical jobs, but I mean, I don't know about the pointing thing.
Yeah. And so Haley is a designer and she wants to get her designs out there. She goes to an investor meeting and they're like, they kind of dismiss her. And they say, if you expect us to go above and beyond for you, you have to do the same for us. And so she's frustrated. And there's these mid-season replacements casting, and they go, and when they first get there, there's a filming notice sign in the lobby, and that's kind of that's going to come back.
That was a plot point. It's literally a sign that said, "This is a major plot point. Remember it."
Yes, and that's when Haley meets Luke. I just wrote SMF on my notes. Scott Michael Foster. That's when Haley meets Luke, and they have a little meet cute, talk it up, and she's not, into the whole show. She doesn't like it, and you see a ventriloquist woman and a Princess Leia woman coming out of the elevator.
But Princess Leia just reminded me of that one scene in 30 Rock where Liz Lemon was trying to get out of jury duty. And it would work when she lived in Ohio to dress up as a weird character, but going to jury duty in New York, like, everyone was so much weirder than her. They were like, oh, a Princess Leia, great, come along.
Yes. Yeah, but I feel like that's not the Bachelor. Like, the Bachelor is more, do they have weird costumes and stuff?
I mean, they'll have a shark costume every once in a while, but I don't think they can do characters because of, like, whatchamacallits, trademarks and stuff.
Yeah, I guess they get away with the Princess Leia one because it's, like, bland enough. It could just be, like, they can write it off as being, like, lady in white dress with buns in her hair.
Whatever it's called. What's it called? Like, Star Princess Fighter.
Yeah, Star Princess.
Galactic Princess Fighter.
I feel like the ventriloquist could maybe get on.
I agree.
Because that would be like a weird, kooky person. No offense to all you ventriloquists out there. But then so Brie announces that she has the plan to be the first runner-up, so she is Queen of Hearts next season.
Like, babes, this is a discussion you should have had with Haley before you got to the room, and then also don't shout it. It seemed like she was shouting the idea.
So they say it would be great to showcase two friends, and it'll be great to have a skeptic on the show. Did they ever have a skeptic on the show? It's like, I don't really want to be here kind of a thing.
Not really. Like, I feel like so much of the show is being like, I'm hoping that this works out. Like, it's more hopeful people than skeptical people.
Yeah. And is it true that a lot of times the runner-up ends up becoming the Bachelorette?
They usually pick from, like, the top, like, the last 5 people. I would say it's not often the runner-up.
And when we get our first look at Marie, as you said, Karen Molina White, who was sometimes she was bordering a bit on caricature, I felt like, but still overall I enjoyed her role. She was funny. She was really trying to bring some humor into, make something of a small part, I felt like.
Yeah, and she was good for what she had to do.
Mm-hmm. And so she takes their phones, and she's very sassy. And she says, "Life is much better when I'm not annoyed."
I mean, who amongst us does not believe that?
Yeah. And so then we get this little scene with Brie and Marco doing blind yoga. Do you think that something like that could actually happen, or they keep them under pretty lock and key?
I feel like this would not happen. Yeah. I feel like it's pretty lock and key. I'm surprised that they're so strict about that, like, rule of, like, you don't talk to the talent until whatever. And then, like, they never got in trouble for it, and there was multiple times where they went off on their own. Right. But anyway, yeah, I feel like it's pretty lock and key. Also, blindfolded yoga, like, please do not sign me up for that. Yeah. I don't have the balance for that.
No. Yeah. Do you know how long the shows usually shoot for? How long they take?
6 weeks-ish.
6 weeks, yeah.
And they were saying, like, 1 week. Like, you just gotta stay in Hawaii for 1 week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they said that they shoot episodes a few weeks before they air. So, I don't know, that's weird. But, then we get this interview between Haley and Luke, and he's trying to kind of figure her out, and he changes so they don't wear the formal wear until the finale. So that makes her it ruins her plan.
Well, because they broke rule number 1, which was that as soon as you step out of the villa, that's like your cameras are live, they can hear you, they can see you. As soon as they stepped out of the villa, I was like, oh, look at that, another plot point. Can't wait to see where this goes.
So, what did you think of Vanessa, the sort of catty member?
I understand her as a part of, like, the Bachelor lore. I just don't think she's the person they're bringing to the end.
Oh, yeah. So you think that she would go home before the individual dates, or?
Yeah, well, it's not often that this, like the villain is in the final 2. Mm-hmm. Like, it has happened, but it's not that frequent. I liked her going to Haley and saying, let's form an alliance. I liked that she got on board at the end and was like, yeah, let's live our lives here. She would not be picked as the next Queen of Hearts, though. That's not happening here.
Yeah, so she says that you've got to play the clip game. The more they stay with you, the more you stay on the show. Do you think that's true?
I mean,
playing the clip game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought she was pretty good. She was pretty, because part of the problems with most of these Hallmark reality dating movies is they're not willing to go sort of trashy. Mm-hmm. Like, they just, and that's part of the shows. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I did appreciate in this one that they at least kind of went there. Because otherwise it becomes kind of boring and it just doesn't really work very well. So I appreciated her character. She was kind of a funny villain. And so Brie says she doesn't want to leave without seeing a magical Hawaiian rainbow. And I gotta be with her on that. There's nothing better. Have you ever been to Hawaii?
No, I am dying to go. I'm dying.
Take me with you when you go.
Well, we'll meet up. We'll meet up there.
I love it there so much, and it is so beautiful, and the rainbows are very magical. It's just a wonderful place. So I'm with her on that. But yeah, you're right. They go blindfold yoga again on the first date. And Haley says, if only dating was a team sport. And also we find out that that Marco's lines are being fed to him. And I mean, I would think that some of the stuff that he's hearing would be just obvious. Like, he doesn't need to be told, oh, you look pretty in that dress. Like, what is...
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think
I don't know if it's earpiece, but like I mean, probably a little bit. Like some of the dumber leads, like they've got to have some sort of backup, right? Like,
yeah. Then he when he says goodbye to one of the women, he's like, you taught me about astrology, and we had this moment. You made me a better person. Then he's like, unfortunately, our stars don't align. I was like, oh, that's cold.
Yeah, like what a moment. Yeah, like I feel like often they're not going to pick a lead who can't carry the leading role. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to do that. But
yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
What did you think of him giving those hearts? Did you think that
was
was
my god, what an absolute nightmare that was. Do you know what the worst part was for me? Every week they had to rewrite new ones. They couldn't just use the previous weeks.
Yeah, that was, and it even becomes a plot point later on with that he's made the who's made the heart for, it's like there's like a crafting element to this show.
And like a badly crafted element. Like they could not have hired a calligrapher for their team.
No, I guess not. Yeah. And so then we have a whole scene between Haley and Vanessa. And Vanessa tells they have kind of a fight, and they end up, Vanessa throws wine on Haley because she wants to form an alliance with Haley. And is that something that the girls do? Like make little like
I mean,
it seemed like a stretch to me.
Yeah, I think it's just more like natural friendships, because like how far is an alliance really getting you on this show unless you're like planning on fighting people and be like, we're not actually fighting, let's just pretend.
Yeah, and we also find out that Haley's allergic to horses, which we'll need to know later.
Important plot point. Another very important plot point.
Mm-hmm. And we have this Brie and Marco going on the horse riding date, and they rush off away from the cameras. That seems highly unlikely.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Cute. It was and so they have some banter back and forth, and I agree with you. I thought the sort of chemistry between Brie and Marco was really good, and it was very beautiful. I mean, it just made you want to go to Hawaii.
Like it's I've been staring at the same walls for so long now. I put it on my Twitter because I live in Canada. We do not have Target. I've had so many dreams lately about the first time I am able to go back to Target.
Oh, you haven't gone back to Target?
No, because the borders are still closed.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Pretty much everything that I've been able to do since has been like an emotional experience. Yeah, I have been able to travel, and I've been able to do some things, and I'm so grateful because it is rough.
I'm hoping soon.
I hope so too. So Haley asks Luke about his ideal woman, and then she says her ideal man. Ideal man makes me laugh. Is there when I cry, passionate, not threatened by a partner who wants more.
I think those are reasonable things to want in a partner.
Pretty basic, I would say.
Yeah, like that's like what's it called? Like the bars in hell when it comes to men or whatever. Like, yeah. Wow, you want somebody to respect your career? What?
Yeah.
Where are you gonna find one of those?
Yeah. I mean, and I feel like we all say makes me laugh, and you know that.
I wonder if there's people out there who are like, genuinely, I don't want to laugh. Like, I don't want to be with somebody who's funny.
Right. So we find out also that Luke was a documentary maker, and that he has this dream of making a documentary about the Bay Area. And
how big?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's really gonna get you a back. you and Haley need to go to the same investor school to learn how to pitch your ideas.
Yeah, he wants to have a docu-series about, yeah, and he got a job out of college, and then he's ended up working at the Bachelor show. The thing I always think about plots like this is that shooting The Bachelor only goes for so long. You could still definitely make your documentary.
Yeah, and like you don't want a steady paycheck.
Yeah,
while you're doing that?
Most people have most artists work on gigs, and so you have one, and then you go do something else, and you go do something else, and you do a little bit, and so the idea that it's just like, well, I'm stuck at this job is probably not very, but it made him, it was an endearing characteristic because obviously he was an artist and he had sort of more like you want to make him so he's not somebody who's like a sleazy guy like Unreal or something like that.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Unreal?
I watched the very first episode because we covered it with Rob one time, and it was so long ago.
Yeah,
it's just that's just not really my type of television.
Mm-hmm.
I like comedies or reality, and that's about where I go. Like, I don't really do dramas, and it felt like just a little. It was just a little heavy-handed for me, and like afterwards, so many people were like, "Well, they do this on The Bachelor. Like, I saw it on Unreal." It's like that's a TV product as well. So like, let's look at our sources here.
Yeah, well, they had a lot of Hallmark talent because it was shot in Vancouver.
Oh,
so it had a lot of people on that show who were, even the host, Brendan Elliott, is on tons of Hallmark stuff. So
interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, so the Vanessa goes on a painting date with Marco, and what do you think of her mermaid painting?
Okay, so I said those hearts were the worst thing I've ever seen. I lied. This painting is the worst thing I've ever seen. But I also need it.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. Oh my gosh. And then his painting was terrible.
Yeah.
Like, probably not the best date idea.
No, definitely not.
Poor Vanessa. Then Marco also gets stung by a jellyfish,
but that was on him and Haley's one-on-one date on a beach. They had to take this little buoy out, and then immediately he gets stung by a jellyfish. And guess what? There's only room for 3 people on the dinghy.
Yeah, and so she ends up being there with Luke
for
left
6
on the
hours.
island. So it's Marie's little kind of scheming. Because she says there's only 3 that can be on the, she's like, I gave you time. So
I have a question. Maybe this is crass. You're telling me they wouldn't have done it in the 6 hours that they had alone?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's still the beginning of their relationship, but maybe,
I guess,
I don't know.
But like, I don't know. I feel like they'd be like, well, we know that this... I feel like it was never hidden on either of their parts that they were way into each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you think he would have just, like... Okay, maybe not gone, like, all the way, but, like, a makeout? Like, they're not making out there on the beach?
I feel like we should have gotten, like, a good kiss.
Yeah, and I feel like that would have left room for them to kind of have, like, an issue they needed to overcome.
Yeah. Because that's the thing that when you have all these near kisses in the world of Hallmark, that it takes away from a chance to actually have that be part of the plot and part of the conflict. Is that, oh my gosh, we kissed, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that should have been it. And yeah, I feel like their relationship had so little conflict, and I think that's why I was like, yeah, they'll just end up together. And I felt like there could have been something was like, yeah, you're right, they kiss, but they're both like, okay, well, we both have these contracts, and so we have to kind of pay attention to those. Because I never believed for a second that we were ever going to see any conflict with Brie and Haley about Marco, which is fine. I don't need that kind of conflict, but I felt like there should have been, because we had like the the twin relationships. We should have had like some twin conflict.
Yeah, I can see that. Also, they would never do this in a million years in a Hallmark movie, but if this was like on Netflix, I would have thought it was hilarious if they had because if you get stung by a jellyfish, one of the treatments is if you pee on it.
Yeah!
I was like, that would have been so funny. But obviously, they just wouldn't have that kind of comedy.
No, I guess
things,
not. I guess not on the Hallmark Channel. And, like, yeah, so they're probably not going to do the full Monty either on the pee.
No,
I should have realized
that. Would have been funny.
But yeah, like, I felt like we were going to get, like, some light peeing, and we didn't.
No, we did not.
And I mean, good on them, I guess, for, like, going against the ideals of what we thought, but I don't know. Why would they have him get stung by a jellyfish if they
it could have been something else. Like a sea urchin or something like
that.
Yeah,
step on a starfish. I don't know.
Yeah. But I loved when so Brie and Marco go on the golfing date and he creates rainbows for her. That was so cute.
I love that. That was really adorable. I thought it, but again, like, they're not getting alone time before that date. It's not happening. But I did love that he was like, look. And I was like, why are they doing a golfing date? And then as soon as that happened, I was like, this all makes sense to me.
Yeah. And so we have they do give two fairly early kisses in this scene, which was cute. With the rainbows and stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's reasonable because you're on The Bachelor, like there's some light kissing.
Right. And so then Haley says that she doesn't want to be in the finale with Brie, and Luke says the only problem is that I don't want you to leave, which was cute.
It was cute, but at that point it's like, just let her leave the show and just fall into your arms and it's fine. We're all fine.
Mm-hmm. I also always feel like in these movies we're supposed to be super impressed by the designs of the designer. These things that
was just never happened. Like, I could have bought that at Forever 21. I'm sorry. The finale dress that Vanessa wore was beautiful, but it's not something I've ever not seen before.
Yeah.
Does that sentence make sense?
Mm-hmm. And so then we have there's a mean ad that they run about Brie. Move over, Marco. It's my time to shine.
Sorry, she deserved that. I'm not gonna lie to you. I felt like she said it. She said it. And but I like that she was very much like, I mean, I said that. Like, that is what happened. Like, I felt like, no, they're trying to make me in something I'm not. She was like, oh, gosh, I got caught. That sucks, but here we are.
Yeah, and so Marco says, was this your plan? Yes or no? Was that your plan? And she says, you've made my choice for me. Goodbye, Brie. And, oh, sad.
That broke my heart. Oh, I was so sad.
Because I think that she meant well. I mean, I don't think that that she was as scheming as they kind of were trying to make her seem. And then then I don't know. She just got caught up in the world of the show. And said things that she obviously regretted. And it's because he was like forcing her to say yes or no instead of just listening. She had to say yes. I said that.
If I was in his position, I heard that, I wouldn't think to be like, okay, what do you have to say for yourself? I'd be like, I saw the footage. They didn't make you say that. I'm out. I don't blame him. I'm very much Team Michael here.
I thought she was so cute, though. I was just so impressed with the actress, and I don't know, I was really charmed by her. I thought she was so sweet. But yeah, no, I mean, she said what she said, and so there's no getting around it. And at least it wasn't one of those things where like he misheard the wrong conversation, misinterpreted. Which you see a lot of times in rom-coms, you know.
No, it was very much like, I want you to be prepared. This is literally what she said when she thought she was talking to her friend and not on camera.
Yeah. And then Vanessa gets thrown in the pool, and that was kind of funny. And
that did make me laugh.
They say, the best love stories can't be staged. They just happen. And then they decide, okay, we're going to make an alliance with Vanessa after all. And she's like, it's too late. But yeah, this whole ending. So they have to put Haley. They show up. It's Haley and Vanessa.
Oh, we said you could wear whatever you want. Hey, no, no, that's not happening.
No way.
The wardrobe people are dressing you for that final night, but whatever.
Yeah.
And she shows up in a space costume?
Yeah,
really
a space suit.
That's not happening. The producers aren't going to be like, oh, the first time we are seeing you while we're filming is when you walk up. Like, that's not... No. That's not happening.
I mean, and they're also acting like they can't reshoot anything. Like, there's just once, and it's done. Because she shows up in this spacesuit, and the whole reason why is because she's allergic to horses, and so she'd have the helmet on.
Yeah, but can you tell me the one thing that was wrong with that?
Well, I mean, it was bonkers.
She wasn't wearing gloves.
Oh, yeah.
She was just barehanded, touching this horse that she's, like, anaphylactically allergic to.
Yeah.
She has to wear, like, a helmet, but she can just, like, free palm it.
Yeah.
As if her hands would be swollen by now.
Yeah. And so then they make the alliance with Vanessa basically because it's their... They make a deal with her that she would be the next Queen of Hearts or whatever, and so she wins, but then she says, no, I deserve a man who feels the same way about me. And this has happened on The Bachelor/Bachelorette, correct?
Mm-hmm, definitely.
People have said no.
Yeah, and, like, the lead has been like, you know what, I'm not feeling either of this.
Yes.
Which, like, I feel like the lead should have been like, I feel neither of this, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, he did kind of say that I'm not going to propose, but want to see where this relationship goes, I guess.
Yeah.
But still. Then they bring in the horse, and he goes on the horse to find Brie. And
they make out in the sunset.
They make
I
out,
also, like, I'd say, like, if we scooch back, like, half a scene, I felt like there was more to wrap this up, but I looked at, like, the time of the movie left, and it was like, there's, like, 4 minutes left. I was like, how are we doing this in 4 minutes?
Yeah, I kind of felt that way, too. There was a lot. And so, yes, then we find out that Marie is going to be the new showrunner for the show, and that was fun. And then, because Luke is quitting, and then he's moving to the Bay Area to do his docuseries, and she's like, oh, you're moving to the Bay Area just by where I live. That's so fun. And they kiss. There we go.
Finally.
Yes. I think it helped a little bit with me with this movie that I had very low expectations going into it. I didn't think it looked very good. So it was a lot better than I expected. I liked the dynamic of the two friends. I thought that was fun. I liked that we got two relationships. I really liked Tiana Tully as Brie. I think that she hopefully will be in a lot more Hallmark movies because she's super cute. And yeah, and Corbin Bleu I really liked, and it was beautiful. It had like a tiny bit of edge to it that you don't necessarily always see, even if they didn't go to full on peeing.
I know, but like I feel like, and I get it's Hallmark, and I think like my version of rom-coms probably doesn't always fit with like like what Hallmark is presenting. I feel like we could have got a little hotter.
Yeah,
just like a cheats. Like we don't have to do like full on like anything showing, but like just a tiny bit hotter.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. It hopefully maybe the next one that they do.
Maybe some light premarital hand holding.
Yeah, maybe
really
scandal.
Get the juices flowing.
So there we go. Love for Real. You've seen now. So we saw the Cats and Dogs movie, and then we saw Ivy and Mistletoe, and I Married Ryan Banks, or Want to Marry Ryan Banks, and then this. So where would you rank this of those 4?
This is number 2. I Want to Marry Rain Banks is number 1. Cats and Dogs is 3. Ivy and Mistletoe is 4. I think that's an easy peasy, lemon squeezy ranking.
I think so too. So, yeah, I agree. That would be my order as well. But I think this was a fun surprise. It was all filmed in Oahu, in Hawaii. So very fun. All right. Well, very good. This has been a lot of fun. I always love having you on. I look forward to it.
You are the only, I will not even watch movies for my husband. You're the only one I will watch movies for. I hope you know that.
Very honored. Thank you. So where can people find you on social media and your podcast and everything?
And so if you want to listen to more of what I'm doing, you can find my podcast over on the Reality TV Wrap-Ups on robhasawebsite.com. If you want to follow me on social media, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 8strong_. I also have a book Instagram. If you want to kind of see what I'm reading, check out The Strong Library on Instagram.
Ooh, very good. Yes, and you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. I've been very, very busy with all of the new releases that are coming out these days, so check that out.
What's been your favorite new release so far?
I really liked an animated film called Mitchell's versus the Machines. I thought that was really great, and that one's my favorite. But I also really liked In the Heights. I thought it was great. I love musicals, so I'm a big fan.
That I do want to check out. Will I before 2030? Maybe. I still haven't watched Taylor.
Let me know if you do. But also Ted Lasso. Oh, is the best.
I need to watch that too. I have a very long list.
Oh, I mean, I have a hard time imagining anyone not liking it. It's so great. But anyway, but yes, make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. We really appreciate it. And if you are watching on YouTube, please leave this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our Patreon group and merch store. We have all kinds of fun designs. Check that out. And thanks so much, Haley. This is always a blast, and we'll have you back on soon. Ready for another candy cane movie?
Christmas is coming.
Yes. Bye, everyone.